Why in the world would our government cooperate with kidnapping humans?
This is a really interesting interview on the Jillian Michaels Show where she interviews Lue Elizondo. And Lue gives us a whole bunch of information. I don't think they're accidental truths. I think it's planting seeds of information that's coming down the pipe.
Why in the world would our government cooperate with kidnapping humans? Okay, so Lou, I'm just walking through how crazy this is, right? When these non-human intelligence creatures have arguably been just abducting people for hundreds of years. And arguably, in one of the books, I guess, that they left out of the Bible, the book of Ezekiel, they talk about lights in the sky and getting in chariots and going up into the stars. Why would we even need to cooperate with this? It doesn't even make sense. They could just grab one of us and go.
Why in the world would our government cooperate with these creatures? You know, that is one hell of a question. That implicates motive and morality and complexity that is deep. That can't be answered with a single response. And you can tell that the question flusters Lue, and you can actually watch him backpedal here a little bit. And it's not Lue's responsibility that this happened. Lue never made the agreement. But he's here, it's his job to stand up and face this, and he does a decent job of backpedaling here. I'm not going to lie.
Sure. Well, if these things are truly intelligent and not just automatons, then one can surmise that there might be some sort of social structure there, meaning some sort of cooperation. And why I say that is because if you look at all higher primates in the animal kingdom, if you want a species to survive, you have to learn how to cooperate as a unit, as a group, right? So whether it's a tribe, it's a village, it's a city, it's a country, it's a nation, it doesn't matter. Cooperation is really important for the survival of a species from a macro perspective, not a micro perspective, but a macro perspective. So it is possible that the idea of cooperation isn't just a terrestrial thing, that it is a universal kind of like perhaps other things we see, like the behavior of light, for example, is just a matter of physics. It's possible that in order for any type of intelligent being to really evolve itself, cooperation amongst themselves and amongst others is imperative.
His backpedal, I think, is a bit of an accidental truth. He soft admits that these creatures have a society. Computers don't have a society. A non-human intelligence is a vague word that they like to use. But here he zooms in a little more. He says that they have a social aspect to their society. Cooperation is a key element in that social aspect. So there's way more information than they're giving us. It implies that maybe they've talked to these people.
The question is, what would that cooperation look like? And there's been a lot of speculation on that. And I think you're absolutely right. If it turns out that the American government or any government has been complicit in allowing citizens, innocent civilians, to be taken against their own will and studied, then that's a constitutional issue. We're now well beyond the lanes of MK Ultra and some of these horrible things that our government has done in the past. This is a new level, and there'd be, I think, a significant amount of liability that the American government would have to assume.
Well, I don't think that's much of a question, Lou. I think we've got thousands of people who've been taken, not just taken, artificially inseminated, raped, forced to do things that they wouldn't normally do, taken from their homes, kidnapped, violated, their children have been taken, seated with doubt, convinced to commit suicide. All the list of things that they have done to us is absolutely massive. As soon as this becomes reality, as soon as experiencers' stories become the truth, as soon as they validate this, as he's laying out here, all of those stories become real. All of those felonies become real experiences that people went through. Who's going to answer for that? Anyone? rabbit hole goes deep.
Then you have the other information that I know Representative Burchett has had access to, along with some of his other colleagues like Luna and Burleson. That could be very disturbing because it shows that maybe we have been a little bit more complicit with this topic than we have previously stated. Keep in mind, we spent decades saying nothing to see here, folks. It's not real. This is not, this is silly. Turns out we were spending a lot of taxpayer money, a lot of your money, actually, researching this topic, and I was part of that effort, and so were many of my colleagues. And it turns out that, there are things that go bump in the night, and that can be very disturbing for some people, especially from a philosophical perspective or a theological perspective, and even a psychological perspective.
I'm not sure if I agree with you, Lou. The theological and philosophical perspectives do carry some weight, but the excuse of using aliens as a validator for doing experiments with syphilis and spreading diseases amongst your own people and giving people LSD against their will and turning your back on abductees and driving a stigma to ostracize them and put them in insane asylums just doesn't, it's not enough, Lou. I know that everybody's going to have a problem with this, but people who have actually felt the tip of the spear or the edge of the razor, for us, it's not a ontological or theoretical or philosophical issue. It's very much someone needs to do something about this right now, and someone needs to make it so that we stop getting hurt. We contribute. I pay tax. Whitney Strieber pays tax. All the other victims out there pay tax. Why are we not being protected? Why are we not being protected? For them to say that they can't protect us is ridiculous. I could build a program right now and protect every single abductee and experiencer out there. They would never, ever need to get hurt again. And it would be very simple. You just tell everyone the truth so that their friends and their family and their government and their doctors don't tell them that they're crazy and delegitimize this real experience that's happening to people.
And maybe this is one of the reasons why there have been some people very shy about it. In the past, we did a lot of things at the height of the Cold War to maintain our strategic advantage and competitiveness against then Soviet Union. There's a lot of things we did that weren't very nice. If we can go again back to the MK Ultra experiments where innocent people wound up dying because the CIA decided to administer LSD to unsuspecting people, right, just to see what would happen. You have the Tuskegee experiments where we allowed our own human beings, our own brothers and sisters in this country, to be infected with and go through the entire life cycle of syphilis to the point where some of them died. And even though we had a cure, we didn't offer the cure because we wanted to see what would happen with syphilis going to its natural state of progression. So, there have been things we have done in our government that haven't always been very nice and not necessarily in the best interests of the American people. And this is why I think, Congress continues to get engaged in this, because if it turns out that is the case, then we're going to have ourselves an entirely different conversation here.
His response, Lou basically uses the greater good as validation for allowing aliens to abduct us, MK Ultra, and all the other horrible, horrible, nasty stuff that they do for humans. If this is the positive side of the greater good, what is the negative side of the greater good? What are they fighting over?
This notion of alien crossbreeding and hybridization. Let me just preface this. When I was in the Pentagon at ATIP, I was a nuts and bolts kind of guy, so really airframe, air integrity, the material science and propulsion behind the vehicles themselves, not so much the occupants. But what Gates is referring to is something called, in the vernacular, it's known throughout kind of the UFO community as MyLabs. And what it suggests is that there's been a long-standing agreement or understanding between us and our friends from out of town that have allowed us to work with whatever these are, in a cooperative agreement, and in exchange for that, supposedly they would have access to certain human specimens biologically in order to test. I have to say, first and foremost, I heard about that while I was at the Pentagon. I was not privy to the specifics of that. From my understanding, that relationship began, if it is true, began sometime in the 1950s. And has continued. I have met several individuals, former intelligence officers for the Air Force and other services, who swear by it, who actually say they've had encounters with UAP and have seen military personnel in and around the vehicles, as if, very nonchalant, as if it was supposed to be.
If that theory is real, that crossbreeding with humans is real, if that's a real variable, if that's a real condition, a real state, then that absolutely, glaringly, obviously produces an empty void of motive, which can only be filled with one solution. Why would they want to crossbreed or create their own version of humanity to exist on planet Earth? Why would they want that? Why would they need that? What's wrong with us being here? The only reason that you would create a system like that is if the intent was to replace us. Complacent? Who the fuck's in charge?
There are very few exceptions in our Constitution that allow the American government to do things and only tell a very small group of people. One of those, and I'm going to be very cautious how I talk about this, but if you look at the definition of covert action, that is one of those legal exceptions where the U.S. government is allowed to lie to the American public. They are allowed to lie to most of Congress, and they're allowed to lie to the world in order to protect a mission or an operation.
We turned our back on our own people to allow aliens to create a DNA strain that lives on our planet? And everyone's just going to be okay with that? You want to have your kids replaced with aliens? You want to have your grandmother replaced with aliens? You want to be replaced by aliens? We're just going to lay down and give them our planet?
Representative Burchett is absolutely correct, because if it's true that there's a scenario where we have elements of the American government wittingly cooperating with something else and allowing human beings to be against their own will, right, be taken. Well, from my perspective, when I was a special agent, that's called kidnapping, right? That's a felony offense. And then if they are touched in any way, right, that's called assault, right? So there's a lot of issues here that legally, fundamentally, I think we would have a problem with.
The fact that these conversations are being seeded as the future of this conversation, this topic, this disclosure, is very deeply, deeply concerning. Am I the only person that sees this as a red flag?
The military-industrial complex is far more involved in this topic than anyone really knows.
I'm an abductee who spent more time with them than any other person alive. I know a lot about the situation. I know a lot about their culture. I know a lot about these people. If you want to know more, if you want to know the truth, if you want to know the stuff you're not going to get from the government or from disclosure, follow my channel, watch my videos, and make up your own mind.